Behind the dazzling lights of WWE, where fans cheer for larger-than-life superstars, lies a reality the company has worked hard to keep hidden. Female wrestlers, who many fans admired as role models, often faced storylines and situations that crossed the line from entertainment to outright humiliation. One of the most glaring examples was the infamous Piggy James storyline. Piggy James, known for her incredible in-ring talent and popularity, became the victim of body shaming on live television. Week after week, her opponents mocked her weight, calling her names in front of millions of viewers. The crowd laughed because it was presented as comedy. But what no one saw was the emotional toll it took on her as a human being. This wasn't just a minor mistake in creative storytelling, it was a scandal that highlighted how WWE exploited its own performers for ratings. Fans today often look back at this period in disbelief, wondering how a company that preached anti-bullying campaigns could air such cruel content. And the most shocking part? WWE never apologized. They brushed it off as just part of the show, leaving Mickie to carry the scars. For younger fans who looked up to her, the message was even worse. If someone doesn't fit an unrealistic mold, mockery is acceptable. What makes this scandal stand out is how it exposed WWE's double standards. Male superstars were celebrated for being unique in size and style, while a talented woman like Mickie was torn down for something as shallow as body image. It left fans questioning how much control these women actually had over their careers. Looking back, the Piggy James storyline remains one of the most uncomfortable reminders that beneath the glitz, WWE's treatment of female stars could be cruel, manipulative, and deeply unfair. It wasn't just a scandal, it was an emotional wound dressed up as entertainment. AJ Lee was never the biggest nor the flashiest, but she had something that made her stand out: her voice. Fans remember her infamous pipe bomb promo, where she exposed the truth about WWE's women's division. In a fiery speech, she called out her fellow female superstars for being handed opportunities based on looks, not talent. What made this moment shocking was that it wasn't just part of a storyline. AJ was voicing real frustrations shared by countless women in the locker room. Her words cut deep. Fans heard her describe how women with powerful connections backstage or the right appearance got main event spots while others with skill were ignored. It was bold, unapologetic, and brutally honest. For many fans, AJ became a hero, someone brave enough to pull back the curtain. But for WWE's management, it was a problem. Her promo embarrassed the company by showing the audience that what they were seeing wasn't about competition, but favoritism. What followed was telling. Though AJ had support from fans, backstage politics grew colder. The same promo that made her beloved by millions became the source of tension between her and WWE higher-ups. Many believe this played a role in why her career with the company ended earlier than it should have. This scandal highlighted more than one woman's frustration. It exposed how WWE operated behind the scenes, how decisions were made not on merit, but on marketability. AJ's honesty cost her dearly, but it also planted the seeds for change. Fans began demanding more respect for female wrestlers, which would eventually help spark the women's revolution years later. AJ's pipe bomb remains unforgettable, not just because of what she said, but because it revealed that sometimes the biggest scandals are the truths a company never wants exposed. When Paige debuted in WWE, she was celebrated as a game-changer. The anti-diva, dressed in black, with an edge unlike anyone else, she won the Divas Championship on her very first night. She represented a new generation of female wrestlers who relied on skill, not just appearance. But her promising career was rocked by one of the most shocking scandals in WWE history: her private videos being leaked online. The leaks spread like wildfire, dominating headlines and overshadowing everything she had achieved. Overnight, the young superstar went from being a fan favorite to the center of public scrutiny. What made it even more heartbreaking was that she was the victim, yet she carried the shame. Fans debated endlessly, with some cruelly mocking her while others defended her privacy. But one thing was certain: her career would never be the same. WWE, always protective of its image, distanced itself from Paige during the scandal. Appearances were reduced, storylines were cut short, and whispers began about whether she would ever be trusted again. The tragedy here was not just the invasion of her privacy, but how quickly support for her disappeared. Paige later admitted the mental toll it took, describing how she struggled to even leave her home. The same fans who once cheered her became divided, and the same company that had embraced her left her isolated. This scandal exposed a cruel truth. In the age of the internet, female wrestlers were more vulnerable than ever. A mistake or violation of privacy could destroy careers overnight, while male stars often found ways to recover. Paige's resilience eventually allowed her to return, but the pain of that moment remains one of the darkest scandals WWE has ever been linked to. Lita was a trailblazer, known for her daredevil moves and fearless presence. But in 2005, her personal life became WWE's storyline, creating one of the most infamous scandals in wrestling history. The story revolved around her real-life relationship with Edge, which began while she was still with Matt Hardy. When the affair became public, WWE decided to turn real heartbreak into a money-making feud. What followed was ugly. Matt Hardy was fired, Edge and Lita were vilified on screen, and the crowd turned vicious. Lita, once adored, became one of the most hated women in wrestling. Fans chanted insults, booed her relentlessly, and treated her as the villain even outside of scripted storylines. But the true scandal wasn't the affair. It was how WWE exploited it. A private betrayal between three people became national television drama, and Lita bore the brunt of the abuse. Every promo, every appearance reminded her of a mistake that should have been kept private. She later admitted that the treatment from fans scarred her long after her retirement. For WWE, it was a ratings boost. For Lita, it was emotional devastation. The company turned her pain into profit, proving once again how little regard they sometimes had for the well-being of their performers. To this day, fans debate whether the storyline went too far. What's certain is that Lita, one of WWE's greatest icons, deserved better than being reduced to a scandal that overshadowed her legendary career. Chyna was called the ninth wonder of the world, and for good reason. She was unlike anyone WWE fans had ever seen, a muscular powerhouse who broke barriers by competing with male wrestlers and even winning the Intercontinental Championship. But while she was celebrated in the ring, her life outside it was filled with tragedy and controversy. After leaving WWE, Chyna struggled with addiction, financial issues, and a lack of direction. Her decision to enter the adult film industry shocked fans and forever changed her legacy. For some, it was empowering, her choice, her body, her decision. For others, it was the fall of a hero. The biggest scandal, however, was not her choices but WWE's response. For years, the company ignored her accomplishments, refusing to honor her while celebrating male wrestlers with equally troubled pasts. Triple H once even suggested that because children could Google her name and see explicit results, she would never be included in the Hall of Fame. This erasure was heartbreaking. Chyna had opened doors for every woman who came after her, yet her legacy was treated as disposable. Only after her death did WWE finally recognize her contributions, inducting her posthumously. Fans saw through it. This was damage control, not genuine respect. Chyna's story is one of the saddest scandals in WWE history. She was a pioneer, yet she never got to enjoy the recognition she deserved while alive. Her life is a painful reminder of how quickly the wrestling world can forget its heroes once they're no longer useful. Even the pioneers of women's wrestling have scandals that WWE has desperately tried to bury. Fabulous Moolah, once praised as the longest-reigning champion in history, was later accused of exploiting young female wrestlers. Allegations surfaced, that she manipulated contracts, took financial advantage, and even enabled darker abuses. When WWE announced the Fabulous Moolah Memorial Battle Royal, fan outrage was so intense that they were forced to cancel it. It was proof that the past couldn't be hidden forever. Then there was Sunny, the original WWE diva. In the 1990s, she was one of the most downloaded women on the internet, but her post-WWE life spiraled into arrests, scandals, and struggles with addiction. Her reputation went from being a glamorous figure to a cautionary tale, leaving fans heartbroken at how far she had fallen. These stories show that scandals aren't limited to modern stars. The very foundations of women's wrestling are stained with controversy. And the truth is, for every story we know, there are countless more that remain buried. WWE has always tried to present its female stars as symbols of empowerment and progress. But the reality is far more complicated. From exploitation to humiliation, from personal betrayals to corporate cover-ups, these scandals reveal a darker side of an industry that thrives on spectacle. For fans, these scandals are unforgettable. They remind us that behind the bright lights are real women who carried both glory and pain. And perhaps the biggest scandal of all is not what happened, but how much WWE fought to keep it hidden.